Guardians of the Night. Opening scene. A young girl named Lily, around 12 years old, lives in a secluded countryside home with her father. Ever since her mother passed away, her only real companions have been her two loyal German shepherds, Max and Shadow. The dogs are more than just pets. They are her protectors, always by her side, whether she's playing in the fields, walking through the woods, or sleeping at night. Lily's father, a former K-9 officer, trained Max and Shadow to be fiercely protective. No one can come near Lily without the dogs watching their every move. But despite their strength, they are gentle with her, always affectionate and loving. One stormy night, while Lily is home alone, something changes. The dogs, usually calm, become restless. Their ears twitch, their eyes dart towards the forest behind the house. Then, they start growling, a deep, guttural sound she has never heard from them before. The intruder. Lily peeks through the window. The rain makes it hard to see, but she notices something strange. A figure, barely visible, stands just beyond the tree line. It doesn't move. It just watches. Max and Shadow are on high alert, pacing back and forth, their fur bristling. Lily, feeling uneasy, calls her father, but the signal is weak due to the storm. The call drops. A loud thud comes from the front porch. The dogs explode into action, barking furiously, their bodies tense. Lily grabs a flashlight and hesitantly steps toward the door. She flicks the beam of light outside. Nothing. Just the rain pouring down. But then, the dogs stop barking. They go eerily still. The twist. Lily turns around, confused. Max and Shadow, always by her side, are now staring at her. Their eyes seem different. Not aggressive, not afraid, just unreadable. And then she sees it. Their tails aren't wagging. Their usual warmth is gone. Slowly, they step toward her. Something is wrong. These aren't her dogs. Her heart pounds. The realization hits her. Max and Shadow never barked at the intruder. They were barking because something had already entered the house. The two figures in front of her, identical to her beloved dogs, aren't them. There's something else. Something wearing their forms. Outside, deep in the woods, two faint howls echo, far away. Max and Shadow are still out there. But inside the house, something else is waiting. Lily's breath hitched. The two figures in front of her, identical to Max and Shadow, stood unnaturally still. Their eyes, once filled with warmth and loyalty, now gleamed with something wrong. Her mind raced. If these weren't her dogs, then what were they? Outside, the real Max and Shadow howled again, their cries urgent, desperate. Lily took a step back. The fake Max and Shadow took a step forward. Max. Shadow. She whispered, hoping, praying, that somehow this was all in her head. They didn't respond. They just kept staring. Then, a flicker. For the briefest moment, their forms shimmered, like a heat wave in the air. Their outlines distorted, twisting unnaturally, before snapping back into place. Lily's stomach dropped. They weren't real. A gust of wind rattled the windows. The candle on the table flickered violently. The shadows in the room stretched unnaturally long, creeping toward her like living things. Her heart pounded. She had to get out. But the fake dogs blocked the door. The escape. Suddenly, a massive thud shook the house. The front door shuddered as something heavy slammed into it from the outside. Bang! Another impact. The wood splintered. Then a snarl. Lily's real dogs. They were trying to get in. The fake Max and Shadows had snapped toward the door, their ears twitching at the sound. That was all Lily needed. She lunged for the back door, fumbling with the lock. But before she could open it, a low, unnatural voice echoed behind her. Not spoken, not whispered, just inside her head. Don't go. Oh. Lily froze. Her fingers trembled on the lock. Stay with us. The voice was wrong. It sounded like Max. It sounded like Shadow. But it wasn't them. It was layered, distorted, like multiple voices speaking at once. Her chest tightened. No. She wasn't staying. With a final twist, the lock clicked open. She threw the door wide and bolted outside. The true guardians. As soon as she stepped into the rain, the Real Max and Shadow were on her. Their warm fur pressed against her legs, their bodies solid, real. They barked wildly, their eyes locked on the open door. Lily turned. The fake Max and Shadow stood just inside the doorway. But now they were changing. Their bodies lengthened, darkened, twisting into something grotesque. Their once familiar faces melted away into featureless voids. The shadows around them writhed like living things. Then, without a sound, they faded into the darkness. The house fell silent. Max and Shadow whined, pressing closer to Lily. They were shaking, not from fear, but from exhaustion. Whatever those things were, they had fought to keep them out. Lily wrapped her arms around her real protectors, her heart still hammering. She didn't know what just happened, but she knew one thing. Those creatures had come for her, and they might come back. Lily's legs trembled as she clutched Max and Shadow. The rain poured down, soaking her hair and clothes, but she didn't care. She was outside, away from the house, away from them. But for how long? The creatures had vanished, but the uneasy silence they left behind felt suffocating. The house loomed before her, dark and still, its windows gaping like hollow eyes. Then, a creak. The front door, which had been left open, slowly swung shut. Lily's breath caught in her throat. That wasn't the wind. Max let out a deep growl. Shadow's ears were pinned back, his fur bristling. The house wasn't empty. Something was still inside. The warning. Lily had to get to safety, but where? The nearest neighbor was miles away. Her father wouldn't be back until morning. Then, Max suddenly nudged her leg. Hard. He whined and glanced toward the woods. The woods? At night? That was even worse. But Shadow did the same, pressing against her, urging her away from the house. They weren't just guiding her. They were warning her. Something was coming. Lily didn't question it. She ran. The forest secret. The woods were cold and damp, the trees casting eerie shadows under the dim moonlight. The storm had begun to pass, leaving behind a thick mist that curled around the trunks. Max and Shadow moved fast, leading her deeper in. They weren't just running, they had a destination. After what felt like forever, they stopped in a small clearing. Lily looked around, her breath heavy. Why here?" she whispered. Then she saw it. A large, flat stone sat in the middle of the clearing. It was covered in strange carvings, symbols she didn't recognize. But Max and Shadow did. They circled it, their ears alert, their noses sniffing the air. Then, they sat, one on each side of the stone, staring at Lily, as if they were waiting. A sudden gust of wind rustled the leaves, and a chill ran down Lily's spine. Then a whisper. Not from Max. Not from Shadow. From everywhere. They know you're here. Lily's heart pounded. The air felt heavy, thick with something unseen. Then, the carvings on the stone began to glow. A deep, ancient hum filled the clearing. The whispering voices grew louder, surrounding her. Max and Shadow didn't move. They stayed beside the stone, watching, waiting. Lily's hands clenched into fists. She didn't know what was happening, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just about her anymore. Something had been waiting in these woods for a long time. And now, it had found her. Lily stood frozen in the clearing, her heart hammering in her chest. The whispering voices swirled around her, slipping in and out of her mind like a forgotten dream. She could feel something unseen pressing against her skin, as if the very air had weight. Max and Shadow remained still beside the ancient stone, their eyes locked onto her, their bodies tense yet unwavering. They weren't just watching, they were guarding. The glowing symbols on the stone pulsed, illuminating the mist around them. The whispers grew louder, shifting into something that almost resembled words. She is here. The bloodline remains. The door must open. Lily's breath hitched. Bloodline? Door? None of this made sense. What had she stumbled into? A gust of wind rushed through the clearing, carrying with it the scent of something old, damp earth, burning wood, and something faintly metallic, like rusted iron. It made her stomach twist. Then, a shadow moved. Not in the trees. Not in the mist. On the stone. Lily watched in horror as the darkness stretched and shifted, morphing into something humanoid. A shape slowly pulled itself up from the surface of the stone, its form flickering like a candle about to go out. Max and Shadow snarled, their bodies lowering into attack positions. Their fur bristled, but they didn't lunge. Not yet. The shadowy figure straightened, its head tilting toward Lily. It had no eyes, no mouth, just a swirling void where a face should have been. And yet, she felt it staring at her. You should not have come. The voice didn't come from the figure's non-existent mouth. It echoed inside her head, pressing against her skull like a dull ache. Lily took a step back. I didn't mean to, she stammered. I don't even know what this place is. The figure remained motionless for a long moment. Then, slowly, it lifted an arm, pointing toward her. You carry the mark. Lily's breath caught. What? It pointed lower. At her wrist. She glanced down, and her blood ran cold. A faint symbol, the same ones on the stone, was glowing beneath her skin. Panic surged through her. She scrubbed at her wrist, but the mark didn't fade. It pulsed in time with the symbols on the stone, as if they were connected. The whispers swirled again, overlapping and chaotic. The mark has returned. The seal is breaking. She must choose. Lily's vision swam. The air was too thick, pressing against her chest. She stumbled backward, but Max and Shadow pressed against her legs, keeping her steady. She wanted to run. She wanted to wake up from whatever nightmare this was. But then, the shadow moved again. It stepped down from the stone, its form flickering like a broken reflection. It loomed over her, stretching unnaturally tall, its presence suffocating. You have been chosen. Lily shook her head violently. Chosen for what? I don't understand. The figure's head tilted. Then, suddenly, the whispers stopped. Silence fell over the clearing, heavy and absolute. Even the wind had died. Then, a single whisper. To open the gate. Lily's pulse pounded in her ears. Gate? What gate? Before the shadow could answer, Max and Shadow lunged. Their barks shattered the silence as they leapt at the figure, their teeth snapping at the shifting darkness. But instead of fighting, the shadow collapsed into smoke, swirling around them before vanishing into the night. Lily gasped, stumbling forward. The stone's glow flickered and dimmed, leaving the clearing in darkness once more. Max and Shadow. Lily clutched her chest, gasping for breath as the clearing returned to darkness. The stone, once alive with glowing symbols, had gone dull. The shadowy figure had vanished, but the weight of its presence lingered in the air like a storm about to break. Max and Shadow circled her protectively, their bodies tense, ears flicking at every sound. They were waiting, listening, because this wasn't over. Lily's mind raced. The mark. The whispers. The gate. None of it made sense, but deep down, she knew something had changed. The life she had before tonight was gone. She glanced at her wrist again. The mark still glowed faintly beneath her skin, a reminder that whatever had happened, it wasn't finished. A rustling noise came from the trees. Lily's head snapped up. Something was watching. Max and Shadow growled, stepping in front of her, their fur bristling. Then a voice. Low, rough, and all too human. You shouldn't be here, girl. Lily's heart nearly stopped. A figure stepped into the clearing. A man, tall, with sharp, watchful eyes and a weathered face. He wore a dark coat, the edges damp from the rain, and carried something in his hand. A knife? No. A dagger. Lily took a step back. Who are you? She demanded, her voice shaking. The man studied her, his eyes flicking to her wrist. When he saw the mark, his expression darkened. Damn it, he muttered. It's true. What's true? Lily asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The man hesitated, then let out a long breath. That the seal is breaking. Lily's stomach twisted. She had heard those words before. The whispers in the dark. The shadow had said the same thing. Max and Shadow stayed close, their eyes locked on the stranger. They didn't attack, but they didn't relax either. Lily swallowed hard. What's happening to me? The man stepped closer, but not too close. He moved like someone who had seen too much, who had fought things normal people couldn't imagine. There are things in this world that don't belong here, he said. Ancient things. Things that were locked away a long time ago. Lily's hands clenched into fists. And you think I have something to do with them? The man nodded. That mark on your wrist? It means you're connected to it. To them. Lily felt cold. The shadows. The man's gaze flicked to the stone. Not just the shadows. The gate of shadows. The clearing seemed to grow colder at those words. The wind stirred, carrying whispers she could barely hear. Lily's head spun. What is the gate of shadows? The man's jaw tightened. A prison, he said. A prison for something that should never be freed. Lily's pulse pounded in her ears. And you think You're the key, the man interrupted. Or, at least, your bloodline is. That mark means you come from a long line of guardians. People who were meant to keep the gate closed. Lily stared at him, her thoughts reeling. Guardians? A prison? Her family was part of this? But I don't know anything about this, she protested. I don't even know what's behind that gate. The man's eyes darkened. Pray you never find out. A deep silence stretched between them. Max and Shadow shifted uneasily, sensing the weight of what was left unsaid. Lily shook her head. If my family were guardians, then why don't I know any of this? Why didn't my dad tell me? The man hesitated. Because most of them are gone. The words hit Lily like a punch to the gut. Her voice came out small. Gone. The man nodded. Killed. Or worse. Lily felt the world tilt. Her whole life, she had thought she was just a normal girl. But now she was being told that she was the last of something ancient, something dangerous. She clenched her fists. So, what do I do now? The man exhaled slowly. You have two choices. You run and pretend none of this ever happened. Lily swallowed hard. And the second choice. The man's expression hardened. You fight. A heavy silence settled over the clearing. Lily looked at Max and Shadow. They had been protecting her this whole time. They had known something was coming. And now she knew too. She took a deep breath. She was scared, terrified even, but deep down, she knew she couldn't just walk away. Because if she did, the shadows would come for her anyway. Lily lifted her chin. Tell me what I need to do. The man studied her for a long moment. Then slowly he nodded. First, he said, we need to get as far away from here as possible. Lily frowned. Why? The man's eyes flicked to the trees. Because they're already coming. The wind howled through the clearing, and this time, the whispers were not just in Lily's head. They were everywhere. The darkness was waking up. And it was coming for her. The wind roared through the trees, carrying voices that weren't supposed to exist. Whispers layered over each other, some pleading, some laughing, others growling like distant thunder. The night, once just dark, had become something alive. Max and Shadow's growls deepened, their bodies pressed against Lily's legs as they faced the encroaching shadows. The man, the one who seemed to know more than he was saying, tightened his grip on the dagger. His eyes flicked toward the trees, calculating. They've found you faster than I thought, he muttered. We need to move. Lily's pulse pounded in her ears. Who are they? She asked, barely able to hear her own voice over the howling wind. The man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out a small vial filled with a shimmering silver liquid. Without hesitation, he poured a few drops onto the blade of his dagger. The moment the liquid touched the metal, the dagger hissed, like it had been plunged into fire. Only then did he glance at her. They're the ones who want the gate opened. A deep, inhuman growl echoed from the trees. Lily felt her stomach turn. What happens if they open it? The man didn't blink. Then we all die. The words hit her like a hammer. No. This wasn't just about her anymore. She looked down at the faintly glowing mark on her wrist, then at Max and Shadow. They had been fighting for her long before she even knew there was a fight. She couldn't run now. "What's your name?" she asked, forcing her voice to steady. The man gave a half-smirk, despite the danger creeping closer. "Call me Kane." Another growl, closer this time. Lily clenched her fists. "Okay, Kane. What do we do?" Kane flicked his wrist, sending the silver-coated dagger spinning into a reverse grip. "We survive." Then, from the darkness, they emerged. The attack. The first figure stepped into the moonlight, a tall, hunched thing with limbs too long for its body, its face nothing but a shifting void. Its arms hung at unnatural angles, its fingers stretching like dripping ink. Then came another. And another. Soon, the tree line was filled with them, tall, faceless shadows with bodies that flickered like candlelight, whispering in a language that made Lily's head ache. Max and Shadow exploded forward, barking with fury. Their bodies moved in perfect sync, years of training and something more, something primal, guiding them. They lunged at the closest creature, their teeth sinking into something, though the shadows rippled and twisted, trying to shake them off. Kane didn't wait. He sprinted toward the nearest creature, his dagger slicing through the air. The moment the silver blade made contact, the creature screamed, a high-pitched, unnatural wail that sent chills racing down Lily's spine. The thing recoiled, its form flickering like a glitching screen, then vanished. Kane turned, already moving toward the next one. Lily's breath came fast. She had no weapon, no way to fight. She was just... A whisper slithered through her ear, sending ice down her spine. "You were meant to open the gate." She spun around. One of the creatures was right behind her. It didn't attack. It just stood there, inches away, its faceless void staring straight into her soul. "We are waiting, child." Then it reached for her. Lily screamed. But before the thing could touch her, Max and Shadow tore into it. The creature staggered back as the dogs latched onto its shifting form, growling and biting with a fury Lily had never seen before. The shadow thing reeled, twisting unnaturally, before it vanished in a burst of black mist. Lily gasped, stumbling backward. Her legs felt weak, but she forced herself to stay up. Kane appeared beside her, grabbing her arm. "We need to go. Now." Lily glanced around. More creatures were emerging from the trees. Too many. Even as Max and Shadow fought with everything they had, even as Kane's silver dagger sent creatures screaming into the void, there were too many. Lily clenched her fists. "We can't just run. They'll keep coming." Kane's jaw tightened. "You're right." He reached into his coat again, pulling out a second dagger. This one was different. The blade was engraved with glowing runes, pulsing like her mark. He pressed it into her hand. Lily swallowed. I don't know how to use this." Kane smirked. "Guess it's time to learn." Another shadow lunged. Lily barely had time to think. She swung. The moment the dagger made contact, a shockwave ripped through the air. The shadow shrieked, its body twisting and convulsing before it was pulled backward, into the stone. Lily's chest heaved. She looked down at the dagger in her hand. The runes were glowing brighter. The whispers surged again, but this time, they weren't coming from the shadows. They were coming from her. Max and Shadow stopped fighting, their ears twitching. They turned toward Lily, not in fear, but in recognition. Kane's eyes narrowed. "You're waking up." Lily didn't understand. She didn't have time to, because the shadows, once relentless, began retreating. The creatures hissed and snarled, their flickering forms pulling away. They watched her, not with hunger, but with something else. Something like fear. And then they were gone. The clearing fell into silence. Lily's heart pounded. The dagger in her grip still glowed, the runes pulsing in time with her mark. She looked at Kane. What just happened? Kane studied her for a long moment. Then, finally, he exhaled. "You're not just a guardian," he said. "You're something more." Lily's throat went dry. Kane slid his dagger back into its sheath. "The shadows didn't just come for you." He nodded toward the stone. "They came because the gate has already started to open." Lily's blood turned to ice. Max and Shadow whined, pressing against her legs. Kane crossed his arms. You wanted to know what's behind that gate? Lily nodded slowly. Kane's expression darkened. Then you better be ready, he said. Because whatever's in there, it wants out. Lily's fingers tightened around the dagger, the glow of the runes still pulsing in time with her racing heart. Max and Shadow stayed close, their bodies pressed against her legs, their eyes locked on Kane. Even though the creatures had retreated, the forest still felt wrong, like something was lurking just beyond sight, waiting for the right moment to strike. The gate is opening, Kane repeated, his voice grim. And if we don't stop it, everything in there is going to get out. Lily swallowed hard. But why now? If my family was supposed to guard it, why is this happening to me? Kane hesitated, then exhaled. Because you're the last one. Lily's stomach twisted. Kane continued. The gate wasn't just locked, it was sealed by blood. Your ancestors made a pact to keep whatever's inside trapped. But over time, their numbers faded. Some were killed by the creatures trying to break the seal. Others, he hesitated. Others disappeared. Lily's pulse pounded in her ears. And now that I'm the only one left, she whispered. The seal is breaking, Kane finished. The creatures could feel it weakening, which is why they've been hunting you. If they take you, if they mark you completely, then the gate will shatter. Lily felt cold all over. So, what do we do? Kane didn't answer immediately. Instead, he turned toward the stone in the clearing, the same one the shadows had been drawn to. The carvings, once faint, now glowed with the same eerie light as the mark on Lily's wrist. He ran a hand over the surface, his fingers tracing the symbols. The gate has many locks, but there's one that matters more than the others. He looked at her. The Heartstone. Lily blinked. The what? Kane sighed. It's the last piece of the seal. The core of the gate's power. As long as it stays hidden, the gate can't fully open. Lily frowned. So, where is it? Kane's expression darkened. That's the problem. A cold wind swept through the clearing. The Heartstone is missing. The hunt for the Heartstone. Lily barely had time to process Kane's words before a sharp sound echoed through the trees, a scream. Not human. Not an animal. Something else. Max and Shadow snapped to attention, their ears twitching, their bodies rigid. Kane cursed. We need to move. Now. Lily's feet felt frozen to the ground. What was that? Kane grabbed her arm, pulling her forward. Trouble. They ran. The forest blurred past them, the trees twisting into jagged shadows under the pale moonlight. Lily's lungs burned, but she pushed forward, trusting Kane's lead. Max and Shadow sprinted beside her, their movements quick and calculated. Another scream tore through the night, closer this time. Lily's gut twisted. It's following us. Kane didn't look back. No, he muttered. It's leading us. Before Lily could ask what he meant, the trees suddenly thinned, giving way to a wide, open clearing. At the center stood something ancient, a massive stone archway, half buried in the earth, covered in the same glowing runes that were etched into her dagger. Cracks ran along its surface, pulsing, with dark energy. The air around it hummed, like a living thing. And in front of the arch, a creature waited. It was different from the others. Taller. Its form was less shadow, more solid, like a figure wrapped in darkness rather than made of it. Two glowing eyes peered at Lily from beneath the hood of its tattered cloak. Long, clawed fingers stretched toward her. The guardian returns, it whispered. Lily stopped breathing. The creature knew her. Kane stepped in front of her, dagger raised. You're not getting her. The figure let out a hollow laugh. We do not need to take her, it murmured. She is already one of us. Lily shuddered. Then, the ground beneath her cracked. A deep, thundering sound rumbled through the earth, like something waking up. The archway trembled, its runes flickering wildly. The air pulsed. Then, from within the cracks of the arch, a voice. Lily. Her blood ran cold. She knew that voice. She had heard it before. It was her mother's. Lily staggered back, her vision blurring.
No.
That's not. But the voice came again, this time more desperate. Lily, please, help me. Lily's heart slammed against her ribs. Her mother had died years ago. She had accepted that. But now she was hearing her. She looked at Kane, panic rising in her chest. What is this? Is that really? No, Kane snapped. His eyes were hard, his stance tense. It's not her. It's the gate. It's trying to break you. Lily's breathing turned ragged. The shadows shifted. The creature before her smiled. The Heartstone is near, it whispered. You cannot run from it. You cannot run from yourself. The ground shook again. A crack splintered through the archway, and for the first time, Lily saw what lay beyond it. A vast, endless void. Not black, not empty, but filled with things. Shapes that twisted and pulsed, watching her from the other side. A hand, too large, too long, pressed against the barrier, its fingers clawing at the crack. Something was trying to come through. Kane grabbed Lily's wrist, yanking her away. We have to go. Now. Lily hesitated, just for a second, and in that second, the creature in the cloak lunged. Max and Shadow struck first. The dogs leapt at the figure, their teeth sinking into its shifting form. It let out a screech, its body twisting unnaturally. Kane didn't waste time. He threw a vial, silver liquid exploding in the air, burning through the creature's form. It howled in agony, stumbling back. Lily, Kane shouted. Move! Lily snapped out of it. She turned and ran, her heart hammering in her chest. Max and Shadow followed, their fur still bristling. Behind them, the archway pulsed violently. The cracks were spreading. The gate was opening. And Lily had no idea how to stop it. The forest trembled beneath Lily's feet as the cracks in the archway deepened. A force unlike anything she had ever felt pushed against the world, as if the very fabric of reality was beginning to tear. The whispers grew deafening, an ancient chorus calling her name. Lily, open the gate. Her mother's voice again. So close. So real. Lily staggered, clutching the glowing dagger Kane had given her. Max and Shadow growled beside her, their eyes locked on the cloaked creature writhing from Kane's attack. But even as it burned, it laughed, a deep, hollow sound that sent chills down her spine. You cannot stop what has already begun. Kane grabbed Lily's arm, his expression grim. Listen to me, he said, his voice cutting through the chaos. This is it. If the gate fully opens, there's no going back. Lily's mind spun. The Heartstone, it was the key to sealing the gate, but it was missing. And if they didn't find it now, everything inside that void would spill into the world. What do we do? She gasped. Kane hesitated, then did something she didn't expect. He took her hand and pressed it to her chest. Lily's breath caught. The mark on her wrist flared, burning white-hot. A sudden rush of memories flooded her mind, memories that weren't hers.
A
woman, her mother, standing before the same archway, a dagger in one hand, a stone in the other. A ritual. A sacrifice. The truth hit Lily like a lightning bolt. The Heartstone wasn't missing. It was inside her. Her mother had hidden it the only way she could, to keep it away from the creatures, to keep the gate locked. And now, after all these years, the seal was failing. Because Lily was the last guardian. Kane saw the realization in her eyes. You know what you have to do, he said. Lily's hands shook. If I use it, you end this. Max and Shadow whined, pressing against her legs. She looked at them, then at Kane, then at the gate. The thing that had haunted her dreams, whispered her name, tried to break her. She wasn't afraid anymore. She stepped forward. The air around her pulsed, the archway cracking wider. The creature screamed, sensing what was coming. Lily raised the dagger and drove it into her own palm. Pain shot through her arm, but she didn't stop. Blood dripped onto the earth, onto the stone. The effect was instant. A shock wave exploded outward, sending the cloaked figure flying back. The whispers turned into screams as the cracks in the gate began to reverse, the dark energy pulling inward instead of spilling out. Lily felt something inside her shift. The mark on her wrist flared one last time, then shattered. A blinding light erupted from the archway, swallowing everything in its path. The last thing Lily saw was the creatures being sucked back into the void, screaming. Then, silence. Epilogue: The Last Guardian. Lily woke to the sound of birds. The air was warm, soft, normal. She blinked, sitting up slowly. She was lying in the clearing, but the archway was gone. No cracks, no shadows, just forest. Max and Shadow sat beside her, watching closely. Kane stood a few feet away, his arms crossed, a faint smirk on his face. "You did it," he said simply. Lily looked down at her wrist. The mark was gone. The weight she had carried, the whispers, the nightmares, the feeling of being hunted, all of it was gone. The gate was closed. For good. She exhaled, running a hand through her hair. "So, what now?" Kane chuckled. "That's up to you." Lily looked at the sky. For the first time in a long time, she felt free. The last guardian had done her job, and the world was safe. The end.